Ciao, welcome to Turin, and welcome to the perfect car for Turin, or any city for that matter. This is the Microlino, and it's the creation of a brilliant, slightly eccentric man and his firm belief that modern cars have become too big, too wasteful and too boring, sort of like a Swiss Robert Llewellyn. This is his answer to that problem. It's small, it's frugal, and it is impossible to drive without a big, idiotic grin on your face. It is without question one of my new favourite electric cars in the entire world, and in this video I'm going to show you why. This is Turin, this is the Microlino, and this is the Fully Charged Show. Now, before showing you around this remarkable vehicle, I'd like to preemptively just quickly answer a couple of questions that may be on your mind. Number one, that logo looks a bit familiar. Where do I know that from? Your childhood, if you're my age, because Wim Autober, founder of Microlino, is also the inventor of the metal kick scooter, the micro scooter. In the early 2000s, they were selling 80,000 of those things a day. I still have the scars on my ankles from mine. Question two is the one we always get asked when we show cool new products from cool new brands. Is this real? Is it ever going to happen? When is production starting? Well, it already has. This is Microlino's Turin factory, where they have already built 50 customer cars. Production is starting slow, but it's ramping up quickly. It's here, it's real, and it's fabulous.
The Microlino is, we always say it's not a car, because it's kind of like a mix between, let's say, a motorbike and a car in terms of the category. Really, in terms of mobility, we need to start rethinking of how we are moving. If you think about the cars, how big they got and how heavy they got, this is absolutely the wrong direction we're going at, because yeah, we need to be absolutely more sustainable. Cars need to become smaller.
So, the Microlino, what is it? Well, it's a microcar designed to zip around city streets comfortably carrying, and this is a quote from the website, 2 adults and 3 crates of beer. It is the most adorable thing on 4 wheels. A car so adorable, it makes a Honda-E look a bit mean and tough. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of what's underneath in a second, but I think we need to begin with a design walk-around, because would you have a look at this design? Clearly drawing inspiration from the bubble cars of the late 20th century, the BMW Isetta being the most famous among them. This delightful, blobby, snail-like shape where you are right at the front. The door is, of course, the front of the car. That's not just a gimmick. The idea here is that you can park nose into a parking space, pop that door open, jump straight out onto the pavement. Safety. And incidentally, if you do park this nose in, you could get about 3 of them into a normal car-sized parking space. Lovely light bar across the front. These are absolutely delightful, aren't they? They're actually multi-purpose. At the front, we've got the headlights. At the back, we've got the wing mirrors. Aren't they cute? Normally, protruding bits like that are a bad idea on an electric vehicle. A, because you'll take them off on a bollard, and B, efficiency, aerodynamics. But when you're this small, you don't really need to worry about bollards. And when you're this light, you don't really need to worry about aerodynamics, because efficiency just comes naturally. More on that later. Coming around the side, well, it's pretty small, isn't it? It's not minuscule, it's not freakishly tiny. You've seen a car this small on the road before. It's about the size of a Smart 4.2, 2.5 meters by 1.5 meters, give or take. So nothing new there, but what is new is that this microcar is built on essentially bespoke EV architecture, which means, you guessed it, unprecedented amounts of space inside for the occupants and in the boot. It's roomy. When I told my friends I was going to come and film this, they were all like, oh, it's going to be so funny watching you fold yourself into that. Not that funny. I fit quite well. Price, I'm sure you're curious. Well, once we get through these first 999 Pioneer cars and the full range is available, you'll be able to have a Microlino from between 15,000 and just under 22,000 euro. Now, that's not especially cheap for a microcar. You could have a couple of carvers for that money. But what I think you're going to see when we get inside this thing is a level of quality and desirability that we've never really seen before in this category of vehicle.
If you look around, all those cars, they look more and more aggressive. We want to bring a bit joy back into mobility, fun into mobility, and also joy of living, joy of driving around in the city.
Oh, we're out on the road in the big blue egg. Hello, Microlino. I'm gonna have a silly grin on my face all day, except for when Italian people try to murder me, which, based off the first 5-10 minutes, is going to be every 9 seconds or so. Never driven in Turin before. It's character building. Is this legal, what I'm doing? Don't know, not sure. A zebra crossing, and people actually stopped. Oh, I'm so lost already. Let's see, 3 battery options available for this Microlino: 6, 10.5 and 14 kilowatt hours. A nice spread. Respectively, those will give you a quoted 95, 175 and 230 kilometers of range. 230 kilometers, that's like proper range. That's not just grocery getter range. These Pioneer models, by the way, all come with the middle-sized battery, the 10.5 kilowatt, which strikes me as the right size for a car like this. That really is plenty of range for this sort of vehicle. What else? 0 to 50 kilometers per hour, or 0 to 30 miles per hour, dealt within 5 seconds, top speed about 50 mph, 90 kph, more than enough in a vehicle like this. It's actually quite punchy. It's a very strange experience. It's a bit like a little baby ID Buzz in that it's small, but it doesn't feel that small on the road because it's so roomy. I have to keep reminding myself that where my foot is the end of the car. I'm gonna go... Oh God, the road just ends. Oh no, that's chaos. Charging happens here, and it can be done via a Type 2 charger or just a domestic plug socket thingy. Either way, charging speeds up to 3 kilowatts means that you can charge your Microlino in around 3 hours from empty to full. As for what's under this gorgeous retro body, well, we've got a unibody design. That's something unique to the Microlino. Something like a Citroen Ami is basically a stiff platform with some plastic housing on top, which is not especially safe, and that's okay when you're only traveling 30 kilometers per hour. This is actually the class up of microcar, slightly heavier, slightly faster, and slightly safer, which is a relief. Mostly aluminium and steel construction of that unibody. That means it's going to be stiffer, better to drive, and again, just fare a bit better in a crash. We've got a 12.5 kilowatt motor powering the rear wheels. 2 of them, notice, you might think it's going to be a 3-wheeler. It's not. It's a 4-wheeled vehicle. Power going to those rear wheels only. Might be quite a laugh to drive. We'll find out. I live at this zebra crossing now. Going to be beeped in a moment. Yes. No, come on through. Come on. That's fine. Yep. Yep. I know, baffling, right? There you go. You know, I say it every time, but it is just so delightful to be in a city car, in a city. This is a car fit for purpose. It's doing what it was built to do. All these other land yachts, they are slowing themselves down by being too wide, too fat, and they're wasting energy, be it petrol or electric, by being too heavy. Not me. I'm small, I'm agile, I can slip through gaps. You do get a lot of looks in the Microlino. That's one thing you should be aware of before buying one. If you're incredibly socially anxious, this may not be the car for you. That being said, it may just be my questionable understanding of Italian road traffic laws. that's generating all the stares? I think it's a 50-50 split. Oh my God, I don't believe it's the same group of tourists. Oh, here we go again. It's hello, 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 hello. It's nice to be in a car that makes people happy. Yes, absolutely. Oh dear. Suspension, it's comfortable enough. I mean, this is a very bumpy cobbled street that I'm on right now. It's handling it just fine. Steering is completely unassisted, but that doesn't matter as long as you only steer while you're moving. It's simple. Speedy snail. Whee! Right, what is this road situation? Is it me? Well, he's gone, I'm going. What are the rules? I don't know. I don't know. Right, I feel perfectly satisfied that this car has proven itself as being outstanding in the urban environment. I'm now going to park up and have a lie down and possibly a coffee and maybe a cry. And then I think we'll take it out into the mountains. Now, as I alluded to earlier, there is quite a lot of space inside this little tiny vehicle, thanks to that skateboard chassis, thanks to all the gubbins being in the floor. And to illustrate that point, I think we need to start with the boot. What are you imagining? Just picture it for a moment, how big this boot is going to be. You're wrong. It's 230 litres. It's really quite a big boot, really quite substantial, extremely impressive. It's a two-seater, just in case that wasn't unspeakably obvious. You don't have like pop-up rear seats back here, but you do have enough room for, well, my bag that I've been living out of for the last few days, and a few camera bits as well. Very impressed with that. And then we come round to the bit that you sit in, and this is the moment of truth. Again, the jack test, the now world famous jack test, 6'5" and a bit, little teeny tiny microcar. It's taken me a while to figure out how to get in with dignity. Ample space, ample space. It is properly roomy in here. The whole bench seat goes forwards and back. I've got it pretty much all the way back, and I've got absolutely plenty of room. Okay, I could do with a little bit more headroom, but hey, if I just do this, open the manual sunroof, which comes as standard, I've got infinite headroom. So much to talk about in this interior, so simple yet so delightful. We'll start with this steering wheel, which is absolutely gorgeous. It's like something you'd find in an old classic Porsche. Vegan leather wrapped, absolutely no buttons anywhere on it. Really speaks to this thing having a bit of drivability about it, which is something you may not expect on a car this blobby. We've got a little readout here, which is super simplistic. It tells me my speed, it tells me when I'm regenerating, because this car has one pedal driving as standard. There's no settings to fiddle with there. What you get is what you get. Down here, I've got my little gear selector, drive, neutral, reverse. In the middle is a sport button, and that sport button has a little diagram of a Microlino with a rocket strapped to the roof, which really speaks to the sense of fun with which this car has been designed. Old school handbrake down here. Haven't seen one of those for a while. There you go. That's fun. Little door pocket, bit of storage. We've got windows. Nice to have windows. Very high-tech method of adjusting your wing mirrors. You just kind of move it. Bit more cup holder storage down here. This is really nice. You get a portable Bluetooth speaker. This is the sound system in your Microlino. It plugs into the car. It turns on when the car turns on. And once you're parked up, take it with you. Have a picnic. Enjoy some music. And this is maybe one of my favorite design highlights inside of the car. This steel bar is a genuine part of the unibody construction. This is structurally integral, but inside of it, they've mounted this lovely little LED touchscreen, which is super responsive and provides me with all the functions that I could possibly need. I've got my blower, I've got my heater, I've got my demister, I can open the boot, and well, that's about it, because there really isn't much else that you can do in this very simple, lovely little car. It's not absolutely perfect in here. There's a couple of little teeny tiny things that kind of whisper this is a new car from a new car brand that just started building cars. If you have the windows open when you're driving and you brake heavily, they do slide closed of their own volition. My seatbelt keeps on jumping out of this slightly plasticky sort of bracket that it's supposed to be held into. We're talking about very, very small pedantic things. There are worse quality issues on certain new Tesla models. And actually, those small gripes aside, I think the quality in here is really impressively high. Everything you touch feels good, nice materials used, and just a sense of real solidity to this car. It seems to me increasingly common to see new car companies like Sono or Lightyear outsourcing production to experienced manufacturers to guarantee high build quality from day one. Micro is keeping production in-house, but being a Swiss company, they have gone to great lengths to ensure that build quality is high from day one. And sitting in here, you can feel it.
Production wise, at the beginning, we never wanted to be a producer ourselves, and we really basically stumbled a bit into it because at the end, if it's the only way to really have everything under control when it comes to quality, when it comes to cost. And at the end we said, okay, we are already so far ahead, why not do the production in-house as well? Currently we have built around 60 cars, and let's say the first market that we're selling them in is Switzerland. And certainly what we are doing now, we're really trying to ramp up production. Of course, now with the whole supply chain situation, it's not that easy, but we're doing our best. And the plan is to arrive at around 25 cars per day at the end of this year.
This is a little bit better. We've escaped the confines of Turin. We found a lovely twisty mountainous road, all of 25 minutes from the city centre, because northern Italy. And finally I can unclench, enjoy the car, and speak to you without the crippling anxiety of being suddenly T-boned by a nonna in a Punto. This is a fantastic driver's car. The weight is low down, the power is being sent to the rear wheels only. The steering, the brake pedal and everything else are completely unassisted. So I've got more feel through this steering wheel than I would in a Porsche Taycan or a Polestar 2 Performance. Likewise the brake pedal, if I want it to slow down, I've got to step on that brake. I've got to really stand on it and put some effort into it. It's a tactile experience, and it really handles itself through these corners. I'm chucking this around with some intent here. It stays nice and flat. It's pretty stiff. It's not especially fast, I'll be honest with you, but it doesn't really matter. Think of the Mazda MX-5, one of the great handling sports cars. Rubbish engine, no performance whatsoever. But that just encourages you to play with it, to carry momentum through corners, which is exactly what I'm doing here. But the thing that really makes this so delightful to drive on a road like this is the size. Because I'm almost half the width of my lane, I can treat this like a little racetrack. Enter wide, look for the apex. There it is. Foot flat on the floor for all of this. Onto the brakes, sharp hairpin. I haven't broken the central lane partition. I haven't exceeded the speed limit. And I'm go-karting on a public road, entirely legally. What a delightful little thing. Just a word on the whine, because it is quite loud. Personally, I don't mind it, because it sort of reminds me of racing cars with straight cut gears. It's the gearbox. It is quite hard, as you can imagine, to come by a gearbox suitable for a vehicle like this. So Microlino have somewhat had to make do for the time being, but much like Tesla do, they are going to continuously fettle with and improve the Microlino incrementally as the production run goes on. So my suspicion is, before they've even gotten to this 999 run of Pioneer Edition cars, they'll have replaced that gearbox with one that is quieter. Personally, I like it. It sounds like a little Formula E car. And let's just be sensible for a minute. I'm going to slow down and stop mucking about to talk about sustainability, because that is at the very core of Microlino's entire vision. This car is, and this is a direct quote from their website, eco-friendly as f***. That comes from a few things. It comes from the sheer size of it, meaning that it's less energy intensive to construct, meaning that it's made up of 50% less components than a regular size car. It comes from the minuscule energy consumption, because of course this is a very efficient vehicle, despite having the aerodynamic properties of literally a big front door. This will do 8.8 miles to the kilowatt hour. That is more than double the efficiency you'd get from a Tesla Model 3. It's more efficient than a Lightyear Zero. Why? Not because they've spent any time at all designing an aerodynamic shape. In fact, they didn't. They've made a point of telling me we haven't bothered with aero. We don't need to, because it's so light. Lightness is the key when it comes to efficiency and, as it turns out, fun. Concluding thoughts on the Microlino then? Well, you could probably tell based on the giant stupid grin that's been on my face this entire video. I adore this thing. And how nice it is to get to the end of a video about a new car from a new car brand without having to go, I really hope they make it 3 years from now. They've made it. This is happening. They're building these things right now. If you live in Switzerland, you're going to start to see these on the road very soon. And then a few months later in Germany. And then hopefully a few months later that in Italy. And then other parts of Europe. And then hopefully the UK next year. Please, Microlino. I think microcars like this have a big part to play in our electric future. They just make too much sense not to. They're so much better suited to the task of urban transportation, and they're cheaper to buy, and they're cheaper to run, and they're kinder to the planet. And with brands like Microlino making them as lovable and adorable as this, their surge in popularity is only going to happen faster and faster. A car that wants to make you grin while saving the planet. What's not to love? So there you have it, the Microlino, one of my new absolute favourite electric vehicles. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and if you have been, thank you for watching.